actually gonna walk to the bathroom, Mark. Seriously.
Sometimes I wish that's how I work. Yeah, sometimes I do. It's always, everything's always greener.
I'm really glad to do no business with friends and family. So let me tell you, when shit goes down, they're collecting my collateral, and it's not a friendly business.
You get some interviews.
That's okay. Oh, yeah. You can actually unplug it and move it along.
What do we have here?
I just started.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's not how you start your neighbor.
Okay, Julian, could you get your phone away, please? Sandy, let's take notes on
Did
that.
Peter make it yesterday?
Yes.
Good.
Okay, let's give this group our attention.
Hello, we are Kimball, Hampshire. I am Audrey, this is Kate, Nick, Chance, Adam, Andrew, and we are here today to talk to you about our soap captain.
Is it not? Okay, I got this.
So, our name is Kimball, Hampshire. We are a startup soap company. One of our main core beliefs is quality over quantity. We want to focus into perfecting our one soap captain before we really sort of expand out with all sorts of other ideas. All of our soaps are handcrafted in France, and they are marketed, well, our one soap is made in France, and they are marketed to the upper class travelers, hence the name captain. We thought like captain of a plane traveling, and so our slogan is a polish for your skin, and this is our visual library. This is the man we're trying to market towards here, George Clooney, because he doesn't want to be George Clooney. And we wanted it to have a very designer, high-class feel, but also natural, and the scent of the soap is lavender. We promise the silkiest soap to combat the driest airplane air. Lavender is very moisturizing and calming, and those are two things that people want when traveling.
So, I'll be talking about our market definition. We are marketing towards the businessmen, the higher upper to upper class men that need relaxation but also want a quick clean. Our market survey told us that our man wants a hard, durable, long-lasting soap that leaves the body and mind feeling fresh and rejuvenated. Hit me up on that side. Thank you. On our market feedback, our man also said that he wanted a travel-sized soap that does not run out very quickly, a creamy color such as vanilla or beige, and a scent that is around vanilla, coconut, or lavender. Taking that all into consideration, we chose two main ingredients, lavender and coconut oil. Lavender, nope, thank you.
Sorry.
Lavender is obviously very renowned for being very therapeutic and very calming, but little known fact, lavender is actually probably a gem of the herbal world because it's actually antibacterial and antiseptic. So it's going to keep the skin very clean. Lavender is also a deodorizer, so it's going to keep the skin clean and smelling fresh for longer. Lastly, lavender is a sebum balancer. For those who don't know what a sebum balancer is, it regulates the oils on your skin. If your skin is producing not enough oils because of the dry airplane air, it's going to try to kickstart the oil production in your skin. And if you're producing too much oil, lavender will kind of calm down your skin a little bit and tell it to maybe not produce so much oil. Coconut oil, however, is very softening and luxurious. It's very moisturizing. And most of our men don't want to hop out of the shower and also have to moisturize because they don't have time and it's not quite in their image. So it's going to be quite moisturizing on its own. Coconut oil is known to reduce the symptoms of psoriasis and eczema and other skin conditions that create very dry, red skin, very irritating. So our soap's going to be very soothing, calming, moisturizing, and cleaning.
Try tapping it. It's
Yeah, we're good, thank you. Our competition is great because you might be thinking, lavender soap for men? No, actually yes. We have two competitors that are on the cheaper side, $3 and $5.89, and then we do have competitors that are $9.37 and $9.50. We lay in the middle here at $7, which is actually a really good number for us. $6.99, which is a really great number for us. because we're picking up people who don't want to pay $3, $5 for soap because that's not quite organic enough. There's no way that those people are spending that little amount of money and also making soap. We're also picking up people who don't want to pay $10 for soap because that's just too expensive, it's not practical, they're men, they don't want to pay that much money for their cosmetic needs.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about the original design for our soap itself. So we had in place a simple rectangular bar. We wanted a dark brown or black color with kind of rounded corners, so it would be pretty much the basic bar of soap that you see around, but with a darker color and a lumber or wood smell. So while this seemed good at the time, we talked to a lot of our market, or members of our market, and we found that scent should be changed to something more soothing, because a wood or a lumber smell, especially for travelers, just isn't really suitable to them. So, you go, yes. Well, we decided to change. We also did not have a design on our soap at first, so we added kind of complex plant design for our soap, and then we changed the scent to lavender because of what we found in different soaps around the world, like lavender men's soap in Europe, which was very popular. And we changed the color to white, as well as the consistency of the bar, to make it so that it lasted longer, and also it looked visually more stimulating. So the design is more textured, and the amount of water in the soap changed to make it more, I guess, conditioning and just soothing feel and softer.
And another thing with the design is that it has ridges on it, and so along with it smelling like lavender and that being soothing, it's also massaging.
So this is the reasons why we changed those several different factors. The lumber to lavender was not only because we lacked the essential oils to have a lumber scent, but when conferring with Megan, one of the marketing strategists that came in to help us, she told us about several different companies which had successfully marketed and sold lavender soap in Europe and other places in the world. So we thought that this could be a good model for our company because we had the available resources to make it, and it had been successful for a really long time. So we could emulate this here in America rather than Europe. The amount of water, we found this in our third lab. In our third lab, we conducted a number of tests, and one of them being the cleaning ability of soaps that had 20 milliliters water, 25 milliliters water, and 30 milliliters of water. The 20 and 30 milliliter water bars had either the inability to clean, or they just left too much of a residue on your hands to where it wasn't comfortable. And the 25 had that correct balance, where it was able to clean your hands, but after drying, you felt very clean and moisturized, so it didn't leave that overpowering residue that was with 30 milliliter bar. The color and the texture, this was in one of our supplementary experiments. We noticed that our soap wasn't mixing correctly, so we brought in the use of a blender to change that, and because of that, we were able to have a functioning bar, which actually changed its consistency and feel to more of a smooth and mixed feel rather than that which is rough compared to previous soaps which fell apart. And if you would like to see this, this is the 25 milliliter bar, which had a better feel. It doesn't smell great, we didn't add anything to it. It's just lard and coconut oil, but it had a much better look and feel than previous bars in that experiment. The design of the soap bar, we didn't have one previously planned out, and because we decided to use lavender as the scent, we thought that the plants would relate back to the scent, so the scent and the design weren't completely disjointed from the bar. It brought them more together.
It's more botanical.
Yeah.
Can I also add that when we added the water to the soap, despite it dissolving more quickly, it actually lasted, like it seemed to last longer, especially when we added the blender to it. So that helped us to they wanted long-lasting soap, so that worked in both. And this graph right over here, we tested the amount of NaOH that we put in our soaps, this saponification process, and as you can see, there's a really strong correlation between pH and the amount of NaOH, and because as it went up,
that got to its basic and it started leaving a residue on your hands and being a little painful. So we kept the amount of NaOH low as to have a good cleaning effect, but still be able to like be soothing.
And I personally, I had a cut on my hand, and I was testing out the one with really high pH level, and it would like get in my cuts and burn. So we changed that. And it's great.
I'm sorry, it's just not cooperating. Oh, that was the next one. Yeah, so this is our final product, as I showed you and passed that to you. The design of the bar is nice. The consistency of it is a lot better. It has a milky color like wanted by our surveyors. And it turned out that well, if I can say so myself.
It has kind of a sleek look, which is like, it suits our market very well.
And we
How clean, we only have one color, which is the green on the plant shape above the label. So it's like it gives it a clean feel, but it's also not like overcoming because of how many colors it has, and it's really basic.
And the marble is like detailed enough where it's interesting, but it's also very like clean and looks.
So now I'm going to talk about the future outlook, and we really see the success of the company coming in kind of two factors. So first, we want to expand the product. So this is actually, it's kind of a trial run. This isn't, we wouldn't be comfortable selling this yet, but this is a pumice, I believe. Yeah, it is. It's actually volcanic rock. It's implemented into the soap, and it is kind of responsible for exfoliating. So
Pumice is a porous volcanic rock. It's very light in the soap. Pumice. Yeah, it's renowned for being exfoliating. It's very light, so it won't weigh down the soap at all, so you can still travel with it really well.
So we want to produce more types of soaps and different smells, obviously. We kind of stuck to one smell so far and one target market that we'll be selling to, and that's something that we definitely want to expand to. We're not exactly sure what it is, but that would be what we'll be researching in the next couple of months as our company basically got started. So as I say, tailored to different types of people. Obviously right now we just explained that we're tailoring to upper class travelers. And we don't believe that our company will survive just off of selling to upper class travelers. We need to expand to different target markets. And then obviously this is kind of a given. We need to expand our marketing and Houston National. Sorry. So hopeful expansions. This is kind of on the business side. So we basically, first of all, we want more employees in our company. That's obviously a given, and obviously none of us are proven chemists, so we need to have a chemist that is comfortable with the chemistry. So once our market is established, creation of our new soaps and new places will expand the company. So that's kind of.
However, before we do any sort of expansion, we really want to make sure that we have our first soap, Captain, absolutely perfected.
Yeah, that's why we use coconut oil too. Coconut oil is a binding agent, so it'll keep the soap together better in your travel bag.
Alright, so the price point per bar is $6.99, which they talked about earlier in the marketing, how it fits nicely into our market because it's not so expensive that it's ridiculous for people to buy, but it still has that sort of luxurious connotation that it's not like a $2 bar of soap that isn't organic. And the material cost is $1.37 per bar, which is factoring in the label, materials that we needed to make it, the lavender, all of that. And so our profit per bar, not including labor cost, is $5.26. And so we did it as a salary basis, and so it's minimum wage full-time for all of us. And that comes out to about $93,000, which is kind of expensive, and just the theoretical value, we know this is like very, very out of reach. But if we were to sell about $20,000 per bar, we would make, or 20,000 bars per year. Not $20,000 a bar, that would be absurd.
Well, sell one bar.
Our revenue would be $139,800, and the cost of materials would be $118,000, and the profit would be $21,000 after payroll and after everything, which we would use to expand the company. And obviously, this is a very theoretical value.
Also, the addition of a salary does not limit work hours. It may be full-time, but people are able to put in overtime and work into the company and invest their own feelings and emotions into the product itself.
And the reason that we put it at such a high amount of bars per year sold is because we were planning on doing a larger scale product, so like selling at places like Bartell's and Pike Place Market on the smaller end to get it started, and then Made in Washington stores. So that has like all things that are national.
And if we look at Seattle as a whole, with its population of around 700,000 people, 3.08% are making 200,000 plus a year, and this is around the income of the person that we would be tailoring to. I think that number comes out to around 25,000. If we're going to make back what we did in a year, we have to sell around 4,000 bars, and that means we only have to sell to around 17% of the market in Seattle alone. And that's not areas such as Glenwood, Redmond, things that live in more, like, people who live in more suburban areas that are a little more developed as well, that also bring an income of over $200,000 a year. So it is plausible for us to make our money back in a year if we are able to sell around 4,000 bars in 1 year to surrounding Seattle areas.
Not the 20,000 that you had up earlier?
The 20,000 is an estimation. I did that. It was, oh, no, I'm sorry, it was 4,000 bars for returning customers, because we estimated a bar would last 3 months. And if they came back, bought a bar each 3 months, that's 4 bars, which would bring in the amount of profit that would be made to break even. Sorry, spoke on that one.
And I think it's 14,000 bars to break even.
Yeah, but if somebody returns every 3 months, then it goes down to 4,000 customers.
Understood.
Sorry, that's kind of
No, clear.
weirdly.
This is really annoying. I'm sorry about my computer.
Oh,
okay.
There's no more.
Well, that's it.
That's it.
I thought that initially you worked on defining a very narrow market, which was good. You thought you knew what you wanted to go after, and right away, right off the bat, I mean, Adam, the first week before we ever even got into the lab, Adam was ordering chemicals and trying to do stuff at home. You guys showed up that first day, and you guys were well ahead of everybody else in terms of actually trying to make your product and trying to run through some stuff. Your experiments were pretty good throughout. You guys did a pretty good job of documenting things, and I would say that kind of the science and research side of things was pretty darn good. And you know, you were pretty lucky to have Chance there, who works at Lush, and so knows all about different ingredients and their purposes and so forth. It was a pretty great little niche that you were able to get there. But what I would say, one thing with that is, you were able to communicate to us justification for each of these materials and things. How do you relay that, transfer that to the consumer? That's one thing to think about. A few other things, just notes that I have, and then you guys can run with it, ask the questions if you need to. One, it's a travel bar. Travel bars kind of like bars of soap get kind of slimy. How are they going to transport that? What's your recommendation there? At the beginning, you said it's made in France. handcrafted in France, but then you're selling it at the Made in Washington store.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think our group is
And-
on the same page with
No,
that,
we were
because
not. That's a question.
I had not
No.
heard that it was made in France until, like, during
Okay.
this, so.
So I'm just throwing some things out there right now.
Yeah.
You guys can,
Our original idea was that it was made in France.
okay.
I wish someone would have told that to me.
That was
Okay.
never communicated.
Yeah,
Yeah, no,
I had never.
exactly, we didn't know, so.
Because it was physically made in
That's a good
Seattle,
idea.
and I feel like that's.
Hey guys, I'm
I don't know.
I'm just pointing some things out, and then we can talk about them. Let's see here. Oh, and then another thing that I noticed, just running through numbers, you talked about like the number of people that have the salary that you need within, whatever, and you kind of threw a number out there like, all we need is 17% of our market to buy this stuff.
Yeah.
17% of your market is a lot of people.
It is a lot of people.
Like, if
I
you
admit that, but if you look at like the area with which we're selling in,
Right.
I think that
That's like just.
it's just concentrated Seattle area and not outer lying regions, as well as Made in Washington has online services and airport distribution, which
Right.
would allow for a lot of people to go buy our product and raise the chances of a lot more bars being
Because
sold.
I'm thinking like, okay, they're, similar markets, similar people, like, let's just talk about shoes for a minute, right? Like, Nike, I would say that there's a large percentage of people that have a pair of Nike shoes, right? So they have got that market and they've got that thing cornered, right? But then there's another company that would be like, for example, like Cole Haan, which makes like dress shoes, like men's dress shoes and stuff, right? Like, they're a huge company. And do they even have 17% of the market that they want?
No.
So for you guys to get that point that you're selling 17% of that market that you have defined a soap, you're like, that's a crap ton of, you'd be like super successful. I mean, Sean will be writing on this in a second. Like if you can get 17% of your market to buy what you're selling, like that's huge.
But does that number go down if we have return buyers? Is the question.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Does it?
So these are just comments on my part. So let's start with questions from you guys, and you guys can follow up on some of the comments that I had, and they can answer and so forth. So.
Yeah, let's go right to left, Bobby.
Yeah, so I noticed that early on in your presentation you talked about how you valued quality over quantity and how you wanted to perfect this bar of soap before you moved on to any other things. And then later for your possible ways to improve, I don't remember what you titled the slide, but it was something along those lines. Basically all your ideas seem to be, oh, we want to market to new people, we want to make new soap. So basically my question is, if you want to make new soap now and market to new people, do you think your soap is perfect? And if so, and if not, do you have any actual ideas to improve that bar of soap?
Our soap is not perfect, but we are going to work at trying to perfect it before we think about expanding our company. That's really,
How is it?
It's future outlook, it's not what we're doing right now, we never just like.
Okay, what are you going to do in the future?
Eventually, we're working towards the pumice soap. We have like a very bare idea. of
No,
what
but
we're
That's a
actually
different
doing.
kind of soap.
What we do with this soap, since this hasn't been showed to a mass market of people, we take that, get their opinions on its cleaning ability and its feeling as we've advertised, and depending on its qualities, we change that to market to our people better.
But in the future, past that point, what we're aiming to do is then expand our varieties of soap. We have caption, maybe we'll have sailor or something like that. But after we've developed different models of soap, I think what we can do, in the same market, I think what we can do is expand our market itself and expand to different varieties of people, not just the higher class.
And pumice soap, pretty much it's just the same recipe as that of pumice.
So it would be perfecting our first recipe as well.
Oh, gotcha.
So it's
Sorry.
it's not a completely new bar. It's pretty much the same thing, but with
Same
pumice.
thing, but with the
Okay.
extra exfoliation.
Yeah, I was just curious on
More
smooth
apple
sketches.
Jack.
So, if you're traveling with soap, what makes people want to buy soap for traveling if in hotels they sort of just have soap there?
I'll grab this one, actually.
Okay.
Okay. Your average soap is not going to leave your skin very smooth. It's going to dry out the skin because of what they used in the soap and the lack of quality. they would shorten it, because you're not paying for the soap when you go to a hotel, you're paying for the room. So they're gonna give you something very, very cheap, it's gonna be good for your skin, it's going to leave residue on your skin, unlike the coconut oil, which you can wash off your skin really well, but still leave a really moisturized finish. That doesn't make sense, actually. You're
But
fine
it's
though.
free.
That's a good point.
But basically, like, another point is just like, kind of going off what she was saying, like, you get these like bad small bars of soaps in hotel rooms, but our soap has lavender in it, which is like calming and soothing, also like exfoliating. So it's kind of gonna like work for your body as well when you're on the plane, rather than working
Chance, is that true for high-end hotels like the ones that your clientele is probably going to be going to?
That's a good point. Finishing off my thought,
It
the
is
coconut oil,
crappy bars.
well, okay. But the coconut oil is also good for people with skin conditions. A lot of people go to these hotels and they can't use the soap because it'll burn their skin. The coconut oil will reduce the symptoms and not aggravate the symptoms of psoriasis and eczema. So if people need something to use on their skin because normal soap burns their skin, this would be a really good option for them.
Did you look into the hotel soaps that are out there?
Yeah, I'd be really
Hotels
curious.
are
I feel like
frequented
not
by.
every hotel buys the same soap.
Well, in the beginning, what we were actually,
Right.
we had, when we were brainstorming, we actually had the idea to market to hotels. But what we found was that hotels buy their soaps for like less than $1 a bar, most likely. And this just is not high quality soap, or it can't be high quality soap because of the ingredients that they're putting in.
Which hotels did you talk to?
Well, just like hotels in general.
But see, you're not going for hotels in general, you're going for high-end hotels, I believe.
From what I've seen, I've had like eczema my whole life that flares up and then goes away. And all the hotels that I've stayed at, they're like really nice or not so nice. The soap is very, very harsh on my skin and aggravates it. And I usually get a flare up when I use it instead of like a more calming soap.
But do you agree that it would have been like, considering your market, that you should have gone to figure out which hotels are frequented by pilots and test those soaps against yours and so forth and see what they actually have available? You guys had the idea that like, oh, this is what we think, and you guys, you feel like you guys had your own enough experience in that area. But do you agree that it would have been a good idea, especially going in the future, to do that?
That'd be some great follow-up.
It'd be a good way to test our market and see where we lie,
And
see where we can
perfect.
expand.
For sure.
Sure, you're dying.
Okay, so I'm a little bit confused about who exactly you're targeting, because it seems like you're targeting like wealthy businessmen.
40 to 50-year-old businessmen.
Right, okay, but, so then your stores in which you're selling your soap didn't seem to really fit the market, and I wasn't, that's where I got kind of confused if you were marketing to actual wealthy businessmen or if you were marketing to people who wanted to be wealthy businessmen, and if not, if you, well, I guess you are marketing to actual businessmen, and would you consider like maybe selling your soap in different stores? Because I just, like, personally, I don't really associate like a wealthy businessman with like Bartell's or like a Made in Washington store. That's a really good point. The stores that we listed were just starting points. This is a startup company, and we can't just put our soap in like, you know,
Yeah,
like
right
we
away.
can't do that right away. You have to start and then sort of work your way up.
And also, in the base before people are like willing to,
Okay, so you guys would in a future outlook expand to more, like,
Higher end
higher
boutiques.
stores.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we were trying to start off with like more like market, Washington market stores like Bartell's and the Pike Place Market, and then from there move into higher.
Once we gained solid transfer base.
But if you're not gonna hit your target market in those stores, then why start in the future?
Seattle itself breaks a lot of the stereotypes of like wealthy people, and they can go to places like Bartell's or Pike Place, and Pike Place itself holds a lot of really high-end handcrafted goods, so selling our soap there would be a viable option, because that place has a consistent flow of people, as well as tourists who definitely bring in cash flow to this area. So it's not a lost cause for the places that we're starting at. It may not be the best area, but it does give us a starting point.
And on any of your surveys, did you ask your surveyors where they shop or where they normally buy soap or other cleaning?
A lot of what we found is that their wives bought the soap for them. So that was, you guys did like made with your wife in mind.
We played with the idea of a slogan that had to do with made with your wife in mind because our man is probably happily married.
Did you say made with your wife in mind?
Yeah.
That kind of seems like
While thinking about their wife.
yeah.
There's a reason we decided.
We're taking this and twisting it in a way that is not constructive towards the
And we didn't, there's a reason we didn't use
Yeah.
that. That was just part of our idea for marketing.
You guys, just so we have only 6 or 7 minutes left, so let's keep the questions going. But
We have like different people answer questions.
Okay, Jamie.
you guys can direct questions wherever you want.
Hold on, me, that's fine.
Yeah.
Okay, how many people did you interview?
About 7.
Um, well, for our last interview, we did about 7, but like in total, we interviewed about 12.
How did you find access to these people? My stepdad's a pilot, and so he kind of fit into our traveling market. And then Andrew was on a family goal.
That's kind of a
Did you ask, a follow to that, did you guys ask your surveyors like what their yearly income was, or how did you determine that they were wealthy, and what exactly constitutes as wealthy to you?
Most of the people that we talked to were friends or family, so I would think that we're pretty well associated with their standard of living. So
but does
we don't know for certain what their income is, but I think from knowing them, we are able to understand what their needs are.
Our questions had a lot to do with their lifestyle too. When we were first planning on our market, like week 1 deliverables, it was like, what kind of car do you drive? What kind of clothes do you wear? Like, do you wear a watch? That kind of question.
Jack?
So, about your packaging,
Can Jack ask a question?
Yeah,
so
Jack,
about your
go.
packaging, is it really, like sanitary to have the soap like open to everything?
Okay, this is something I wasn't able to figure out because I wanted to do this. I wanted to vacuum seal it in plastic and then put the slip on over it because I don't think any store wants to put out a bar of soap that just has its ends open. But yeah, that's definitely something that we had in mind. We just weren't able to accomplish in a lot of time.
To address the sanitary question, it's soap, and the nature of soap is quite cleaning, actually. So I don't think you have to worry too much. But I do see the mess factor, and we are working on our next
Of course.
out product to have some kind of protection.
So you guys said that you were looking at some future markets. What markets were you thinking about, and do you think that your soap would fit into the big companies if you're looking at like the really, really big men companies you can think off the top of your head is like Axe and Old Spice? Do you guys think you would fit in that niche, and do you think your expanding market would fit in that niche also?
I think it's completely,
Absolutely not.
yeah, a different market.
Axe.
Then what's your next market?
I feel like I associate those often with like middle school teenagers, and this is more for like adults. So.
The possible markets, one that just came to mind is rather making a soap for women to accompany this. It'd be in the same area and we'd be marketing to the same sort of people and we'd be building on an already constructed base for customers. So we'd now be bringing in a lot more soap off of the same amount of people.
Okay, one more, and then I want to kind of hear from some folks in the back.
Yeah, Julia.
Just a step
How we're going to advertise? Well, we haven't advertised yet as we're not selling any soap. But our plan for advertising would be in our next round of thinking and researching and figuring out where our market finds their products and how they hear about them. We're considering magazines, more like men's magazines, car kind of things, but we'll definitely be researching that in the future.
Would you incorporate that pricing advertising into the simple, cost of your product into advertising for magazines and well, I think it's like,
That's a later.
this is like much future outlook, so, you know, once we get out into the area, once we get out into the area and, raise the variety, we make a little bit of profit, then some of the things that, like this man.
And would it really cost $137 per bar if you're shipping all the way from France across the whole entire world?
We're not
We're not actually making it in
This
France.
orientation
We make the France.
That's
It's-
the 137.
Yeah.
Okay, can I just say something? The 137 was for only materials not factored in, labor costs or anything else,
Which they did later on. Hey, Sean, Gabe, did you guys want to mention something before we wrap it up?
The boss wants to.
No, I mean, it's really good. Sorry, we were talking, I mean, we were saying it's good execution, like really good execution. You know, would like to have seen you guys reach out to the hotels and kind of market it towards that. The price point doesn't make sense to us. We would set it higher. Sean said, I wouldn't call it captain, I would call it admiral, like very smart kind of thing. But,
I would actually say that this group could take over the last group. And you guys can execute, those guys have great ideas, you can put the two together and actually.
Merger.
Guys, one last thing I do want to mention that I did realize, you guys talked about, okay, you're going to start in like a store, like a chain. It's hard to get into a chain. It's going to be easier to get into the high-end boutique. Because you only have to convince that one boutique, right?
That you have this.
And